Hey everybody, we went to Philly Regionals this past weekend. I think it was the largest regional so far, at least on the East Coast. It was about 650 players and I got 7th place. I played a pretty cool deck, but before I get into that, I just want to give a few shout outs to my team and sponsor Chaos Card Gaming. Also, my teammates that helped me test and just get ready for this event. I did scrub out of a few locals before then, so I just made a few adjustments before the regionals and then I was ready to play. My name's Isaiah Houston. I'm one of the co-founders of a new channel that's coming out in May called Ground Game. Let's get right into it. So I played Prank Kids Goes on an Adventure, 60 cards. I get into the deck profile and go through some of the intricacies and why I played certain things. To start, I maxed out just on all the Prank Kids cards. So I played 3 green. Everybody should know what these cards do, but this is Foolish Burial, 3 blue, gain 1,000, 3 red, minus 500, 2 brown, mulligan, banish to draw a card, and then I played 3 field spell. So 3 field spell just in order to see all the kids, and this is a really powerful card going second. Terraform it as the 4 field spell, and then engine requirements, 1 fusion spell and 1 continuous spell card, pranks. There's a lot of theory going on in Yu-Gi-Oh right now on how to play the deck and how to build the deck. I think there's a few differences between 40 card lists and 60 card lists. With the 40 card list, you don't really have space to play enough hand traps that you need for the format and in order to play DP, and I really wanted to play DP. I thought that was a good tool that would be great for not only mirror matches but just for the meta in general, giving you a different dynamic as well as helping you beat some of the side deck cards that are sided against you, like Twin Twisters. But the 40 card list, while I was able to keep the math the same on hand traps, I wasn't able to fit in those supplementary engines. So then I tried going up to 48 or 50. But the thing that I found within those tweener numbers is that I have to increase the amount of Prank Kids cards, and then I also have to increase the amount of hand traps in order to keep the amount at about 80 to 85% of seeing at least 1 Prank Kid and 80 to 85% chance of seeing a hand trap. And I couldn't really do that effectively in a 50 card list, so I just jumped straight to 60. So that's really the reasoning on going straight to 60. The kid consistency was the same, but the hand traps were lower, and this is the format that we're in. Sad enough, we have to be able to draw unsearchable hand traps in order to fight against the metagame right now. Just some extenders, I play some of those supplementary engines that give the deck a little boost. Magician Souls, play 2 Souls, 2 Illusion of Chaos. You can add a pre-prep, 2 pre-preps in order to just make seeing the engine more consistent, but you don't really need to see that card to win. Obviously, it's really good if you draw the Brave engine in general. It also can be weird because you do play a lot of hand traps, and if you draw maybe Kid, Souls, and just hand traps, Souls is just a vanilla monster at that point, unless you're sending one of the searchable spells, which you don't really want to do except for place. I think this was fine. Every time I seen it, it was pretty good, and when I didn't, I was still able to win games. And then for the this engine right here, just DPE. 2 Fusion Destiny and 1 Dash and 1 Celestial. Didn't draw these. I drew these a lot in locals, so this was good. When I needed it most, I didn't really draw these in the tournament. It was about 10 rounds, so it was good. I think I drew it once and I put it back with Chaos, so that was pretty good. And now into the engine that makes the deck very, very powerful, the Brave engine. So I played 4 Watermancers, 1 Foolish Burial, and 3 Temples. Having access to Temple is really good. You can special summon as another extender to help you go into Verte, Anaconda, every turn that it lives and has access to Search Rite of Armesia, which is really the power card, is really good. Even if you draw multiples, well, not multiple, but in the grind game, if you open, you top deck Souls and you still have Fateful on board, you just add this and send it for Souls if you already have the token on board. The reason why you play the engine, 1 Griffin for the Omni Negate, and then 1 Draco Rider. And I played 2 Faithful. I don't think 2 Faithful is necessarily needed, but normally if I go over 43 cards, I just add the 2nd Faithful in because it just gives me 8 cards that I want to see every time I open hand, and it's really not bad opening. It's really not bad opening any of these cards. At worst, this still chain blocks Prank Kids. So the goal was just to see these every turn, 1 and then 1. It's pretty much TKO. It's really hard to lose the game if you're seeing one of these cards, both of these cards. Just so powerful. Then this is how I played through 2 hand traps all day. Drawing 2 hand traps, drawing these, and then I still end on DP with hand traps. So I still, with follow up because I always shuffle Meow back. The fact that you have this is really powerful because this is kind of a checkpoint for Ogre. If they don't Ogre this or they do Ogre this, it's fine. It means they can't Ogre this. And this is the most utility card in the deck that you always want to have. If this card gets outed in some shape or form and you need to access it to win the duel, then you probably lost that game. And then I played just another consistency card, Small World. It was okay. I don't know if I'll stick with it for like the YCS coming up. Typically it just either does one of three things. It adds a kid, it adds Temple, or it adds Nibiru. So like the best three cards in my deck, it just allows me to search. I could also add Souls, of course, but it is a -1. It won me one game where I drew like double Nibiru right of Amnesia. I just added the kid that I needed, and then I had game from there because, like I said, it's pretty much a TKO when you have these cards. Your opponent has to waste 2 hand traps just to try to stop you. You'll still end on DPE. You probably have 3 other cards in your hand that they have to stop, and those could be like hand traps. Those could be a Magician Soul to help you keep digging for more hand traps. Yeah, these are just pretty strong. Just for like defensive cards, I played 3 Crossout Designator and 1 Core by the Grave. Normally if I was at a shorter deck count, maybe I'd just play 2 and 1, but since you play 60, you don't need to worry about that because there's really low chance that you'll draw double Crossout anyway. And this was really good. Every time I drew this, you can like feel the salt from your opponent because you have Griffin. They have like Nibiru hand trap. They're like, okay, I feel I'm pretty confident, but then you cross out the nib and you have Griffin Rider for the other interruption. It's game from there. I played 17 hand traps, a lot of hand traps. So it was about an 82% chance to see 1. I saw 1 a lot, 2 about half the time, and then none about twice, 2 games. So mathematically that's about right. So I just played 3 Nibiru because it's the best one to draw alone, even though if they open this it's probably going to get negated, but if they don't, it's just the highest impact one. I think every deck should be matching out on Ogre because it's a 1-for-1 that stops the Rite of Amnesia. Like, yeah, they still have the token as a body, but it just stops the negate and it stops the free Draco back ad. And then Effect Veiler and Ash. So these cards are like mid. Obviously Ash just hits everything. This helped me against like hitting like Eldritch cards, hitting just, random searches. Didn't open this an insane a lot. Opened Veiler a lot, but Veiler was actually like good because it still hits like rogue matchups. So hit Plunder Patrol. When I actually did draw Ash, it was really good because I drew it a few times against Plunder Patrol. That was really good because all of their monsters can be like Ash from the extra deck. And then Veiler too. They try to chain block something, then this is good. Only time that these hand traps were like not so good was when I played 2 Virtual World, but I was still able to win just hitting the right cards at the right time. And then just for another effect negation, I played Imperm. I just wanted the 15 best hand traps. Imperm being another negate, doesn't play into talents. Also, these are cards that may not be in everybody's list. I think everybody right now, if they're playing like a pile deck or a combo deck, they're on Crossout Designator. I did lose a few games. I lost 2 games to Crossout on the Crossout. So this card was insane when I drew it or was used against me. And these cards were good because you could side them out because not a lot of people are playing these, and then just having them in your deck is still really good anyway, just in case your opponent is. Most times I'll just side out 2 to put in my other hand traps that aside, and then I still have them in deck when I need them. And the last hand trap I play Bell to add to go to 17. It's good against the mirror. It did help me win my final round against Strikers. Went into battle phase after I got like hand trap and just ran over his Sky Striker Link and then just spelled the Ray affecting graveyard. That was pretty good. Obviously it hits like Kagari and try to add back engage. These are also good against Strikers. It's kind of like a weak 1-for-1, but because the deck is so like limited by the ban list previously, like you could just Veiler the Hayate sometimes, and that's like don't have access to engage or anything they're trying to dig for. But Bell was good. I didn't get to use it how I wanted to use it, so I didn't play any mirrors. And then a lot of times, a lot of people that are playing DPE decks right now are playing around Super Poly. I don't think that's correct game 1, especially if you don't know the matchup. I don't think you should be playing around Super Poly, but like popping your DPE and your Verte, because you really get punished by Bell. Every time they did it, I didn't have the Bell, but I wish I did, so I could just Bell the DPE. A lot of times game 1, you don't need to do that because you'll play into Bell, and then you also play into Core by the Grave on the standby phase on DPE. I know it's a 1-of, but depending if they want to shotgun the Scythe or not, I have Imperm, so I wanted Imperms in my deck, even though it kind of didn't work with the Small World. Bell was good. I wouldn't play this card at 3 in any of my decks at all, because when it comes up, it's really strong. When it doesn't, it's really dead. So yeah, not every time they're going to start with Temple, because you can Bell Temple. A lot of people didn't know that. Yeah, I just thought these were the 15 best hand traps to play. like a lot of the common bridges. I think people think that like Bell is the only way to bridge with Small World, but a lot of the times, I'll explain it real quick. Like you could turn like any kid into like a hand trap. Even this one, like if you want to grab souls, you can take drop C's into like souls, or you can take, like if you drew Rite of Amnesia already, you could take this into like a hand trap into like the 3. And it actually works out like 3-3-3 because this is the one that you always want to start with. It puts them back 500 life points. So like, and you don't always need like Bell. Here you go, Ogre. That game that I told you I drew double Nib, I turned Nib into Ogre into Kid. And I already had Rite of Amnesia. And the thing that's really good about that is no one's gonna ask Small World. Like, it doesn't reveal for cost. So no one's gonna ask this card. If they're smart, like they're just gonna wait to see what you add. But the thing is, if you open Rite of Amnesia, then I already have a Kid. So now Ash is like really weak now. The only thing besides being a neck 1 is like if you have a Kid in your hand already and you're trying to dig for Temple, that's where Small World's really awkward because you'd have to give up something and then they'll just hold Ash and then they'll just Ash the Temple. A lot of the time, I even think that's okay too a lot of times, because if you resolve Kid combo, a lot of times you win the game anyway because it's just so strong. It's like a +5, and then it's really hard to die if you resolve Kid combo and then you actually summon Bow Wow and then summon Weather Washer. It's really hard to die. But that's like the main deck. I thought it was pretty good. It performed well. I either drew a hand trap, Kid right, a couple hand traps, or hand trap and defensive cards, and it was just really good. I think the only thing that I would mention is, I think when I see deck lists being made with Prank Kids, especially at lower deck counts, I think it's important to note that you can run the deck. Like I see some lower deck counts, they'd run like 2 of the Kid, but I really don't like playing less Kids. I know that this is really powerful going second, but the thing is when you play less Kids, even playing 8 Kids, right? These don't technically count as Kids because they search the Kid, yeah, so it counts as a Kid when you're talking about opening it. When we actually play in the game, your standard combo normally goes through 4 Kids. So say you go through each Kid, and then you actually only have 4 in deck. That actually makes it like awkward because sometimes you want to special summon at least 2, and you only have 2 in deck. And I want to have more in deck so that like I can actually play the game. There's also scenarios that's very important when like actually playing into boards that you have to understand. Drawing double Kid is never what you want to draw, but there's a lot of times where you actually can OTK your opponent because you drew double Kid. It doesn't have to be a Kid specifically. It could be just a Prank Kid card, but having the max amount of Kids in the list was helpful. Every time I drew double Kid and I was going second, or my opponent passed their turn back to me, I was able to OTK. For the extra deck, I just played 3 fusions. 1 Butler, 1 DPE, and 1 Weather Washer. I actually didn't summon him all day, which is crazy. If you play a Thunder Dragon fusion variant or with double Butler, he's normally your win con, but the way I'm playing the deck is Butler's not my win con anymore. My win con is to have an engine that is stronger than my opponent's, especially when a lot of the combo decks like Based, the way they play, they don't really have a follow-up, and I'm never leaving Meow in grave. I'm always shuffling it back, so you always have a follow-up play that's very strong after they have wasted 2 hand traps and they still have to fight at least a DP and whatever an interruption you hard drew. But I still wouldn't cut this because game 1 you want to go for this, but then game 2 and 3 you switch the game plan a little bit, and because you know they're going to be siding in like Twin Twisters, Cosmics, and those type of cards, and then you switch the game plan and go for Verte Turbo. When they take out all the imperms and all those cards, you make the like twins and stuff dead, and then you capitalize on the fact that imperm is probably not in their deck list anymore. Play 3 Doodle. This is another controversy thing. I see a lot of people play 3, a lot of people play 2. I think it's fine with 2. I've did very well at tournaments with only 2. I personally like the 3rd, so unless there's a really big reason why I'm gonna cut it down, I like the 3rd just because like you actually need 2 in extra deck to go for like the access play going second. And you don't always need to resolve the access play like going second. You could just beat your opponent just without even going to access. You need 2 Doodle when I show you why when you draw 2 Prank Kids is actually decent. So if you keep one in grave, so sometimes then to special summon like back off of Washer, and then you only have one in extra deck, and you already wasted Bow Wow, you actually don't have another Prank Kid to trigger on your turn, so you can literally only go Doodle, activate one Prank Kid effect, and then you don't have any other Prank Kids because you only play 3. So you used, because you always go through 2 Doodle on your first turn, and if you summon this, you don't have any more in deck. So even if you shuffle both of these, you don't have another play. But typically I would shuffle back these 3. Link Karibo, Link Spider, Dark Charmer, and then these are going for game cards. Some people play double Verte, double Link Spider, double Link Karibo. In testing, there's very niche situations where double Link Spider comes up. I think double Verte comes up more, and this kind of fills the role as the double Link Spider, but also letting you turn a Fansies or a Souls into this, even though Souls is already a Dark, but you can still turn into any level 1 like a Pranks token and make Dark. So the play really is to do your normal combo, and you'll make a Verte, and then they'll nib you. But the thing is, if you haven't used your prank effect this turn, you can get nibbed. You take the nib token and you turn it from Link Spider, and then you'll turn that into another Link Spider. But Link Karibo does the same thing while being a Dark, so you can make a Dark too. And then you'll link those both off and go into the double Verte. So I did it once in the tournament where it happened, and I won me the game. And the reason why too is because if you're doing your regular combo, you actually need to resolve pranks in the regular Prank Kids combo. So you need to pitch, and that plays hard into Token Collector too. A lot of the times I would give up my Prank Kids combo going games 2 and 3, and I would just go for Verte. And as soon as they see Verte, they immediately Nibiru. But if I drew the second Prank Kid card, then that makes this live. So that's another reason why having more names, especially like a 60 card list, is fine, because you're able to do that play. But it's only even accessible if you have the second Prank Kid card. So sometimes you would have to forego the Butler, which is perfectly fine, because you don't need Butler to win. DPE kind of serves as another fusion that is putting a lot of pressure on your opponent. It really just depends on how you feel in the game state, because whenever you summon DP, you have to be very cautious that people are also probably running Dark in their extra deck, and they can try to steal your DP. But I was going to go into the pushes like for game. So a lot of the times when you're going second now and you actually have double Prank Kid, you resolve the first one. I don't want to do this. So you resolve the first one and you summon from the deck. Then you go for this. You search whatever. Normally go on second. If you don't have it, it's place. You already burn your opponent for 5 during the combo. That's why I always search this one. You only search this one if like time is running low, because it gives it gives 1,000 life points. So that I'd rather minus by 5 if I'm going like for a game, and then time you add the 5,000. Yeah, so you summon here and you play the place. Now here's where the issue, if you did not shuffle back both Doodle, then you don't have another Doodle to go into. You actually need to go into another Doodle when you pitch the second Prank Kid card, summon the token, you summon this here, you summon the last Prank Kid from your deck, then So they're already at 7,500 life points. You take 2. You go for Unicorn, you draw another card. Now access is 53 by itself. So all you need is either a fusion spell to resolve or just one token. So where the token is going to be like from this, so like a Rite of Armisia. So a lot of the times, like going second or like after my opponent couldn't break my board, this is what I would like go for. So I'd have like the token, and then I'd have these, and I'd go into access code, and then I'd be able to attack the game. Especially if you don't even need this sometimes, if they already paid 2,000 with Verte Anaconda. So a lot of times that play came up going second, but you can still cut doodle, the second doodle, and just be sure when you just make sure you get a free draw off your pranks. So what you want to shuffle is just the 2 doodle you used, and then the meow, and then you're fine. I don't know yet what I would cut for the 3rd doodle. And then probably the favorite part of my deck list was the side deck today, because this is such like a diverse format, and it's hard to figure out like what to side. So, especially when you have like your bad matchups, you have your good matchups already. I'm already playing a lot of hand traps in the side, but then other side deck hand traps like Lancia and Drone, you want to put in with certain matchups, but you don't always want to main them because they're not always good. Especially main deck Lancia. But main deck Lancia is really weird. Like there's obviously times where you're gonna play maybe like a PK player or like a Thunder player, and then it's just really powerful. But then there's other times where it puts you in a weird scenario where you have to, in game 1, shotgun Lancia because you get the most value out of it. But now your opponent, either A, it may not affect them at all. They may do a different play because they seen that the shotgun Lancia, or maybe you get gammaed. It just is like really weird. But siding it, however, you get to take out hand traps that maybe have been subpar and then put in these. So like these are really good, like a virtual world matchup. So I take out like the Veilers and Imperms, put those in. So that was really good. I didn't see any Flunderies, but this would have been really good, like Flunderies, PK, Dragon Link. This is also good too. Draw a Lockbird. These are really good. I sided them in against the virtual world players that I did play. It's also good against Flunders, good against, obviously we don't get shifted. It's just a good hand trap, but it's not a hand trap that I wanted every game, which is why I chose not to main it. And then I did draw it, I think twice. Was the sticky kaijus. So a lot of times people aren't doing standby phase DPE, and this punishes players for that. I don't think it's correct to standby phase DPE either, because you play into more stuff like Gamma, you play into Imperm, which are more popular than a kaiju. So I like to play on like things that are correct in the metagame and then punish people for doing the correct play. And then there's actually a time that was really crazy because my opponent, he didn't play around kaiju, but he did standby phase DP, and I hit him with the Imperm. He was playing Cyber's Eldritch. And then Cyclone, and then 3 Twin. So when the first thing you think about 60 is like, dang, 60 cards. Like, I'm not going to see my side. So that was like something that was really troubling for me, to go from the 40 card list to the 60 card list. Besides, like, even though I really wanted to play these cards. But when I actually did the math, the only thing I suffered in would be if I played maybe like a pure Eldritch, or maybe like something really jank, like a Mind deck or something like that. Just because I definitely need to see back rows turn 1 against those matchups. But where I didn't Suffering was against Flunder, which is more popular than any of those decks. So if you look at each card in the side deck, this actually hits Flunderies, but they are very viable in any matchup. So any matchup that plays DPE, if they don't shotgun, this is good. Any matchup that don't play Scythe, this is good. Base, this is also another hand trap you could put in against Base. This is a hand traps that are good against Virtual World, that are good against Phantom Knights. Kaijus, also I wanted another Dragoon out. Just because Dragoon is not a popular card, but it's a very hard card to deal with. I just wanted something in my deck that gave me the opportunity the chance to draw it. Funny enough, this is also searchable by Small World, but I never did that. Would feel bad to neg one to give your opponent a card, but hey, you don't know. What if they're playing like, I don't know, Exodia Crooked Cook Sharks or something, like and you just lost the dice roll. But having Kaijus in the main deck was good. If you are scared of maybe have like a lot of pure Eldritch or some other like trap heavy decks, you can take the Kaijus out and put in like Lightning Storms. There are other ways like in the deck to beat Dragoons and other problematic cards, but I like the Kaijus was really good. There wasn't a single matchup that I played that these cards were like dead. Obviously, like if they play Scythe, I just wouldn't put in these cards, but these cards could all like come in. Like I had always at least nine of these 15 that were able to go in for the certain matchups. So yeah, this was my favorite part. Like I never like I played against Drytrons. I played against 2 Virtual World Brave. I got 1 bye. I played against Based. I played against a Dino FTK. That was my only loss all day, and I didn't draw any of the 17 hand traps in my main deck. I played against Strikers, Cyber's Eldritch, Plunder Patrol. So like all these cards were like good. The draws came in along with the other hand traps that I played that were all effective against the deck. Also, you can put in Kaijus. I don't think I cited the Kaijus in there though. And then even going first, this is a good card. Like if Lancia is not good in the matchup, like going first against a lot of the Brave decks, like you could just put this in as like a 1-for-1 with the Faithful. You take the 1K just to out the Faithful Adventure. I think it's pretty good. I was crazy because the Dino FTK player, I didn't know what the FTK was, so I had to sit there and watch, like knowing that I'm being FTK'd, because I heard like rumblings around the room. There's a Dino FTK, there's Dino FTK, and like it's like a pretty old combo, but I didn't know what the combo was, so I had to sit there and watch it. And like what made it more gruesome was that he used the True King, the Earth True King, and popped 2 babies and looked through my extra deck, but he didn't banish the Meow, which was actually crazy because if I didn't get FTK'd, I was still confident that I could win the game, even though he banished my win cons. Even though I don't need any of these cards to actually win a game. There's a lot of games I won without any of these cards. Always banish this card right here. Yeah, because worst case scenario, even if he had like a Doka or anything, Rite of Armnesia deals with like Tyranno and like Doka, pretty simple, and then like you just out the Tyranno before they get a chance to like book your kid, and then you can actually, like, especially if you have access to place, you can still run over big monsters. So like another reason why 2 kids is decent is because you actually open that, you could set up Doodle, Washer, or like even if you don't wash her, you can set up like you can still game through just Meow resolving and like decreasing everything and getting a 3K boost from everything, and then with the Rite of Armnesia token, like this is like game, it's lethal on board because this is 2K, token is 2K, and this is 3K. So yeah. But that's it for the deck profile. It was pretty good. Like I said, the event coming up, YCS Charlotte. I'll definitely be attending. I'll definitely make a few changes to the list. Still looking into what's like the best size for the deck. I think you can't go wrong with like a 40 card list either. But I just thought for this event, I thought 60 was really good. And yeah, any questions about deck choices and just overall theory, just comment down below and like and subscribe. 7th place list. Was going for first place, but I had a draw early against Brave Tenny, and then I lost to Dino FTK. So the whole day I went 8-1-1, but it was a pretty good event, pretty good tournament. So.
All right. Any other shout outs before we finish?
No more shout outs.
All
Good.
right.